Hey everyone, welcome back to the Dailey Blend show. This is the weekly rundown with me, Reed Dailey. This is the week of August 7th, 2023, and each week we feature stories that we thought were interesting and notable across business and technology, what's going on across different projects that I'm involved with, and of course, everything going on in the Dailey Blend world of amazingness. But before we jump in the show, I want to remind you that you can get this on such great podcast platforms as Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Anchor, Overcast. The list goes on. Thanks to YouTube, we are now on YouTube for their podcasting solution, which means you don't have to have the screen up or the app open when you're walking around, and you can just listen to my voice, and it is magical. As always, you are also able to find us on social media with such great platforms as Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and now Threads. And of course, you can go to daileyblend.com. That is daileyblend.com, all one word, and read, listen, consume all previous Dailey Blend Weekly Rundown episodes, Friday Top 5, Sound Off Edition. It's all there in one place. Okay, with all of that said, let's jump into the show. So we had a massive sports soccer weekend. So many games, so little time. It feels like, to me, there was almost no time between the end of the Champions League and the start of the summer series of soccer here in the States, with European teams coming over here to appeal to their American audience, as well as MLS and Women's World Cup. So a lot to unpack here. So let's start at the top with some of the European teams. So I am a huge Man City fan. They played Arsenal for the FA Community Shield, and they drew 1-1. Manchester United versus Athletic Club, similar experience. They drew 1-1. It's just what, American fans complain about, just 1-1 draws. Then we go into the MLS with Messi heading to Dallas FC for a game that they actually had to push back an hour because it was so hot in Texas. And that game went to a 4-4 tie. It was absolutely fantastic. I stayed up and watched the first half, fell asleep, woke up to a barrage of texts from friends, and of course jumped on and watched the highlights. And Messi not only was scoring goals, but was doing free kicks, with even Dallas FC wanting to get in on some of the Messi action, and they had an own goal from a header. So if you haven't watched that, I highly recommend going to Apple TV and buying the season pass. It's $39. You can get every game, and of course, those are the Messi games, as well as the rest of the MLS. As someone who was involved with soccer for most of their life and then kind of took a little break there in my late 20s, early 30s, it's pretty spectacular to see the product that they're putting on the field, the product that they're putting on Apple TV, and just how far MLS has come from, it was like 6 or 8 teams, and now it's up to like 32 or 36. It's really fantastic. I hope, as a Chicago native, that Chicago sees what's going on with some of these other teams and sort of steps their game up. I know they've got their new practice facility. I know they've gone through rebranding, but they just need to do more to get embedded into the community here, and they haven't done a good job at doing that, in my opinion. All right, we're wrapping up soccer by talking about Women's World Cup, and the U.S. women tied to Sweden in regulation, and then they lost in PKs, and I believe this is the earliest they've been or left a tournament in a long time. Based on all the podcasts I've listened to about women's soccer, namely the Lexi Lawless podcast, I'm blanking on the title of his name, It doesn't sound like there are many people who are a big fan of this head coach and what he's doing. My guess is shortly after they land in America, the U.S. sacks him and starts immediately looking at a potential replacement. So, a little disappointing to see some of these stars, not shine as bright. But I did hear something on Alexi's podcast that really resonated with me. You've got players that are older at the sort of tail end of their careers, and they've already won a series of Olympic medals and World Cups, and maybe didn't have that same fight or hunger, also not in the game as much. And then you've got some junior players that know that they've got 2 or 3 World Cups and Olympics in front of them, so it's like, well, I can get back here. It probably doesn't have that like one and done feeling of hunger. And, that might have been some of it. I think there was some chemistry issues. It also looked like there were some lingering injury issues. But, I'm not nervous for the U.S. women's team. It's just the rest of the world has very much caught up to our level of play. And it will be interesting to see how the U.S. reacts in the coming Olympics and World Cup. So finishing up my sort of sports update, my former Atlanta Braves, because I lived in Atlanta almost half my life, or a third, I guess, we're up here playing my Cubbies. And on Sunday, it was a couple of games here, obviously, for the series. But on Sunday, the Braves lost to the Cubs 6-4. So I was pretty excited about that. That brings the Cubs up to almost a little over 500 for the season. So let's go Cubs. All right, moving from talking about different teams, we're going to jump into a little bit about sports. So Major League Pickleball, which is the sport that is, I will say, closer to ping pong, but you're playing on your feet on a tennis court, not to be confused with paddle, which I love and adore, is taking the U.S. by storm. And the Major League Pickleball, which is, 20 or 30 teams, just got some capital infusion from Drake and Michael B. Jordan for the Brooklyn Aces. If you go on the Major League Pickleball website, which I highly recommend doing, it's just a fun website, great videos, good content. It kind of reminds me of minor league baseball with the logos, where they don't take themselves too seriously. My 2 favorite were the Atlanta Bouncers, which was some sort of bird, and then the Chicago Slices, which is a pizza slice, which actually looks more, in my opinion, like a New York slice, but still great logos. And, one of the things when I was doing a little bit of research was just seeing about all the capital allocation from, different celebrities and businesses as they're trying to get into Major League Pickleball. And yeah, it's pretty exciting to watch on TV. I don't know if I truly believe it's going to become, one of those Olympic sports that people are just talking about for generations, but definitely is going to have its moment. And I'm sure I'm not sure, but one would assume the investment into the league is nominal compared to other purchases. Namely, like Tom Brady becoming a minority owner of Birmingham City FC. Birmingham is in the 2nd division, and so they'll be playing J.J. Watt and his wife's team. And it's really interesting to me to see all of these athletes wanting to get into soccer. I think Rob McElroy and Ryan Reynolds sort of figured out that you don't necessarily have to buy a Premier League team or invest in a Premier League team, but that you can buy into some of the smaller divisions and help create some value through your star power. Ironically, there's rumors that Tottenham Hotspurs might get an offer from Jay-Z along with some other financial backers, but the fact that you're going to see more and more U.S. folks trying to buy European football clubs is just interesting of our cultures colliding and people taking money from entertainment and deploying it into capital. I think I'm probably more excited about that than some of the money coming in from, other parts of the world. And I'll let you kind of connect the dots on that. But it's more fun to see people with brighter personalities or bigger personalities involved in doing sort of crossover from sports and entertainment into buying sports franchises. The last thing in terms of just news that I thought was interesting or notable was the fact that Mac Miller's 2018 Tiny Desk concert is now available on vinyl. I know that's a bit random as we talked about all these sports things. I wasn't really a big Mac Miller fan. My partner got me into him over the last couple of years, and I've listened to some more of his songs and tracks and whatever, and I'm constantly impressed. And he was just a different dude, and I thought the vinyl kind of spoke to who he was creatively. It's just a very cool kind of tie-dye, funky looking vinyl set, and I am just continuously impressed by the Tiny Desk concerts. They're always like, 20 minutes, 5 or 6 songs, and they're just a fun experience. I wish I could go to one. If anyone knows how to get a ticket to any of the Tiny Desk shows, let me know. Kudos to NPR for doing the Tiny Desk. Whoever came up with that concept was brilliant. The YouTube videos get, millions of views. All right, moving from talking about what's going on in the world, let's talk about what's going on with some projects I'm involved with. So, Drink with Greg. This is the collaboration we talked about on last week's Friday Top 5 with my buddy Greg Larson and I. We've got a website up, drinkwithgreg.com. Yes, that's drinkwithgreg.com. And we have launched a spirits section, liquor store, or however you want to call it, web store within drinkwithgreg.com. You can go there and purchase liquor, spirits, etc. It's being fulfilled by our partner, a third-party logistics and distribution company. They've got a couple retail footprints, and they're just great. So you buy it from them or buy it from us, that you get it sent to your house from them, and it's a win-win. I highly recommend also checking out our latest round of content features. We are currently in the midst of a sub $15 selection of the Italian region of wine, and we just talk about kind of bottles that are under $15. This really stemmed from the fact that I was spending, $20, $23 at the grocery store and was just constantly disappointed with that wine, and then spending, like $30, $35 on weekend wine. And I was just like, this is a lot for wine. I don't need to be spending this. Let me do a little more digging. Let me do a little more research. And let's try to find some hidden gems. Not even hidden, just, stuff that's, sub $15 that tastes great. And thus far, I've gotten 2 bottles that I've been pretty impressed with. One that, And you'll have to head over to drinkwithgreg.com to find out which one I like and which ones I did not like. I also want to mention, as part of the Drink with Greg family, we've got the Negronis with Greg podcast still up and running. Episode number 6 of The Teller is up. We should be posting episode number 7 later this week, so just be sure to check out drinkwithgreg.com or the Negronis with Greg podcast on Spotify. It's also available on other podcast platforms, but Spotify is just the easiest and my personal favorite. Rounding out Drink with Greg, I want to highlight that we've got our first merch drop happening. It's going to be some dad hats with our classic Negroni logo. We're going to do them in black, white, and blue. Greg's favorite is blue. My favorite is white. And be on the lookout. We'll be sure to be posting when those are available for purchase. Greg and I are getting the first round of samples here soon, so I'm sure we'll be posting some pictures of us wearing the hats around town. One would imagine if we're going to do hats, we'll probably do some t-shirts, stickers, etc. down the road as well. Okay, let's jump from Drink with Greg into what's going on across daileyblend.com. So last week we had a Throwback Thursday feature of Danny Teneglio. If you're less familiar with Danny, he is a New York, or more specifically Brooklyn-based DJ. Ironically, I think he lives in New Jersey now. And he's been in the game for 20 or 30 years. He was one of the founding DJs on the Global Underground Mix Series. This was back before SoundCloud and YouTube, and Global Underground was just one of those imprints that a kid living in Alpharetta, Georgia, as well as Princeton, New Jersey, would just go to Princeton Record Exchange or in Alpharetta, whatever, like the Virgin, it wasn't Virgin Records, H&M record store. It was massive, to go buy these mixes. And whoever they put on the mix cover was great. I mean, I got to listen to Danny's mixes. I got to listen to Sasha, John Digweed, Deep Dish, the list goes on. So Danny is putting out his third mix entitled Brooklyn. And so in support of that, I thought I would go back and feature his London Global Underground mix. It was almost like 20 years ago. So go have a listen to it. Let me know what you think. And then a few weeks ago, we featured Boombox. So we just haven't had a chance to talk about it. So I had the opportunity to go to Athens, Georgia, I don't know, in my 20s, so a long, long, long time ago, with some friends. And they were like, all right, we're going to go to a show. I said, great. I have no idea who we're going to go see. And we saw Boombox. It's a 2-person band. They have drum machines. They have synthesizers. They have guitars. One of the founders, I believe, is the son of someone from, I always want to say it's Grateful Dead, but I think it's from Fleetwood Mac. I can't remember right now. But the band is great. They've got a number of hits. It's sort of jammy, sort of down-tempo, perfect for what I've been doing, which is drinking a lot of tequila and wine on my back patio, smoking a cigar, relaxing, hanging out, and, take a listen to the song Stereo. I think you will be extremely excited. Yesterday, we featured Katramine, which is the debut project between American rapper Amine and my favorite Canadian record producer, Katranada. It's it's definitely Katranada's sound with a little bit of rapping on it. I think they recorded the whole project in 2 weeks in LA. It's it's a great project. Do I think it's going to be like a classic forever? Probably not, but is it something pretty cool to check out? You bet it. In a similar fashion, I'm getting into this band Goose. I got exposed to them through some buddies of mine, and it was fun to see them really blow up in the last 6 months. And they were in my hometown of Chicago here at the new Salt Shed Factory, or music facility, I guess is probably a more apt description. And you can go listen to their live mix, or live set, I suppose is the more appropriate way to say that, and it is on Spotify. In terms of DJ music from my end, we put out the Sunday sessions from July. It's actually one of my better mixes in a long time, in my opinion. It's a little darker, a little more tech house. And from a personal perspective, I am about to sell quite a lot of my DJ equipment to Guitar Center, and I got the DJ-M RX3. So this is basically 2 turntables, or CDJs is probably a more apt description, a Nexus 900 mixer in the middle. It's only 2 channels, not 4, which is not a problem for me. And then I've got a massive 10-inch screen. I can work off Rekordbox or Serato, and then I can record the mixes. I wasn't sure if I was going to like it. I was playing with it a little bit over the weekend. I really enjoyed it. And then sort of last night I was tinkering and just having a lot of fun. My guess is I will keep this unit until there are probably 2 major upgrades. They might go to a 4-channel version, and I kind of am interested in that. And if they make it connected to the internet, I think that would be an upgrade for me. I wouldn't mind if they took the DJM V10 mixer, which is much more of sculpting, and put that into an all-in-one. That would be pretty interesting to me. I don't likely see that happening. That would be pretty expensive and pretty big. But if they did do that, I probably would go and purchase that unit. So team over at Alpha Theta, which is Pioneer's parent company, look forward to seeing what upgrades you guys do make. I mean, right after I pushed purchase, they just released the Rev 5, which I actually reviewed the Rev 7. It was one of my favorite controllers ever, and it had spinning platters. The Rev 5 is more of like a battle style mixer, and it looked great, and I really dig it. And I just sort of didn't want to be staring at a laptop. And so, like I said, when the RX4 comes out, my guess is, 3 major features. One will be a different touchscreen experience. 2 will be the ability to connect to the internet, and then, that's 2. And then 3 is probably stem separation, so you can separate, instruments, vocals, and drum or bass. I can't remember what it is, but those are my guesses. There'll probably also be some like customizations you can do with lighting and different pad controls. But anyway, I mention all of that to say there will likely be more mixes coming out. Still working on Dailey Blend 150. I've got like a mental block on that mix. I've downloaded a ton of EDM tracks. I think I'm going to go into like a hits of EDM and just put it out. I'm getting closer to feeling good about kind of the track list there. And hopefully you'll see that in the coming weeks. Don't forget to check out last week's Friday Top 5. We featured all things Drinks with Greg, as well as our new favorite shoe company, Amberjack. They make a dress shoe that is built for athletes and the everyday person looking for comfortable footwear that looks great. Don't forget to follow, subscribe to the Dailey Blend Show on all major podcast platforms. Check us out on Twitter, Instagram, Threads, etc. And don't forget to follow the show, because that's what you do in 2023. Thanks for tuning in. We'll catch you on the Friday Top 5 later this week. And enjoy your week. Talk soon.